Wemby's made it clear he doesn't want to be a center. Fans assumed that meant the Spurs would chase another big to pair with him. But here's the twist, the lineups that actually work, they don't involve another big at all. Free agency is heating up and the list of available bigs looks tempting, at least on paper. But let's pause for a second. Do the Spurs actually need one? Because here's the irony, some of the same fans who mock LeBron for always needing a star teammate are now suggesting the Spurs should do exactly that for Wemby. Here's what we're going to do. We'll dive into the numbers to see if the data actually justifies what the Spurs front office is doing. First, we'll extract the lineup data from the 2025 season and compare it to the 2024 season. Specifically, we're interested in the top 20 most used lineups from each year. Then we'll plot them in a scatter plot using offensive and defensive ratings as our axes. And once we do, something really interesting starts to emerge. Let's break this down. This chart maps offensive rating on the x-axis and defensive rating on the y-axis. So lineups farther to the right, they score more efficiently. But for defense, it's the opposite. The lower the bubble on the y-axis, the better the defense. Now, focus on the gray bubbles. That's the 2024 season. Notice the one prominent oversized bubble? That represents a highly trusted and consistent lineup. Devin Vassell, Trey Jones, Julian Champagny, Jeremy Sochan, and Victor Wembanyama. The coaching staff leaned on that group both for stability and performance. But look at the green bubbles. Those are from the 2025 season. This time, there's no standout, no single lineup that dominated minutes. Instead, you see a scattered spread of smaller green bubbles. Why? Injuries, a coaching shift, experimentation. The lineup strategy became more fluid, maybe even chaotic. But through that mess, some interesting trends quietly took shape. Now let's focus on the lower right corner of the chart. This is the promised land. High offensive rating, low defensive rating. This is where the best lineups live. Units that can score efficiently and get stops on the other end. And here's the crazy part. Most of the bubbles in this quadrant are green. That means these are 2025 lineups. And it tells us something big. The Spurs are improving. But what kind of improvement are we talking about? Who's actually in these lineups and what do they have in common? Let's extract those lineups and take a closer look. These are the lineups we coveted. And the first thing you'll notice, nowhere in this group do we see a traditional two big setup. There's no Holmgren Hartenstein type pairing. Not because we didn't have the pieces. The Spurs actually had Zach Collins, Charles Bassey, and even Bismack Biyombo late in the season. But these lineups, the ones that worked, didn't include any of them. Now sure, you could make a case for Mamu, but let's be honest, his archetype based on Cousine similarity is a modern Jeff Green. He's a versatile forward, not a true center or bruising four. And get this, the average height of these lineups, it barely crosses 6'8". The tallest guy most of the time is Jeremy Sochan. So when you look at what the front office is doing, opting out of the big name big man sweepstakes, it actually makes perfect sense because this approach isn't just theoretical, it's backed by their own data and it's being validated at the highest levels of the game. Look no further than the Pacers, who punished OKC when they tried to run two bigs at them in the playoffs. At the end of the day, the team to beat is the Oklahoma City Thunder. They feast on slow-paced, isolation-heavy teams with a single ball handler. But when you throw pace, movement, and versatility at them, that's when cracks show. And guess what kind of team the Spurs are quietly building? One that moves fast, one that plays dynamic, one that doesn't need another big next to Wemby. So let's put down the PlayStation controller for a second. This isn't my NBA. It's not about stacking stars or chasing ratings. When you mine the data lineup by lineup, you start to see why the Spurs front office is moving the way it is. They're not ignoring Wemby's comments about not wanting to play center. They're just building a system that lets him thrive without needing a second big. It's positionless, it's fast, it's smart, and most importantly, it works, because when you follow the numbers, you stop thinking emotionally and start thinking like a team that's actually building something real. The Spurs aren't behind, they're just ahead of the curve.